Hello and welcome to another episode of Ringside Fracas. I'm your host Naim, and today I'm joined by Jide. Jide, how are you, bro?
I'm good, brother. How are you, man?
Yeah, it's been a long time. We were away for a month, obviously after the whole tank fight, and because Ramadan came about, got to focus on religion. But now we're back. Boxing's back, and now we're focusing on loads. All these fights have occurred on the weekend. We've got loads of fights to cover. There's actually quite a few fights over the weekend. How did you enjoy the weekend?
Yeah, the weekend was good. I only managed to catch the UK show.
Hmm.
I still need to. I saw a few highlights of obviously like Tszyu knockouts and Janibek. I saw the knockout, but I didn't really watch the full fight. So I still need to go back and watch those fights. But yeah, it was a good weekend of boxing. Yeah, we're back as you said. So
Yeah, let's get. I mean, let's get straight into it. The UK show, like you said, it was meant to be Queensbury. Obviously, they're now debuting. It was their debut show on DAZN. Now you got Matchroom and Queensbury on DAZN, and with their debut show, they planned a big heavyweight UK show in Manchester, with the initial card being Joe Joyce versus Dylan White, Okoli versus Riakpo, and then Adeleye versus Jamie TKV. Of course, that kind of fell apart in the weeks building up to the fight, with Dylan White pulling out with an injury, and obviously the Okoli and Riakpo fight completely falling apart. But Filip Hrgovic stepped in on 2-3 weeks' notice and took this fight, a rematch of their amateur days back in 2013, which is like, not 12 years now almost, where Joe
mm,
Joyce won in the World Series of Boxing. An interesting fight going into it, a fight where I've always been saying, when we last previewed Joyce's loss to Chisora, I think Joe Joyce should be retired. I think he's washed, he's physically washed, and that if Hrgovic, and my opinion going into this was that if Hrgovic doesn't win and win quite clearly, it's bad, very bad for Hrgovic on the sense of. But the fight, the fight was quite entertaining. It delivered two big heavyweights standing and banging. They're both not really great with their head movement, but both can crack. Kind of similar images of each other, but Hrgovic, the better fighter at range, landed those right hands at range and really won most of the rounds. It was a competitive fight, but it was one where Hrgovic clearly won. Quite an inconsistent performance, because I thought at times he was laying on the ropes a bit too often. He was shelling up, and he was taking a few too many punches, especially to the slow Joyce, which isn't a great sign, because he did the same thing against Dubois, where shelled up a bit too often, got hit with a lot of shots, and sometimes looks like he hasn't really trained as much for the fight. And obviously, in this case, he didn't have a whole fight camp to train. He took it on short notice, but came through, got the decision in the end. Yeah, and I thought it was a decent fight to watch. What was your thoughts on watching it?
yeah, I think it was a good watch. They were both, as we know, slow punch. Well, not let me not say slow. They're heavyweights, isn't it? But well, Joyce is slow, but
Well, I mean, they're still slow for heavyweight standards.
yeah, yeah. But one thing I always say I like about Hrgovic is it's like he tries to commit to being busy,
Hmm.
but I don't know what's happened to his gas tank, man. Like he gets tired a lot, um, and it's like he's one of those fighters where the more tired he gets, it's like the power goes. It was never like a one punch knockout guy, anyways, but it's like his punching form in how he delivers his shots. It's like it wanes as it gets tired. But yeah, like it was a good fight, man. It was a good scrap. The fight went exactly how I expected it to go. Sorry, Joyce needs to retire. He
Hmm.
literally just eats shots. That's all he does. He no head movement, no judging of distance. He's 39 years old. I don't know what he's there for. Hrgovic came and done his job. Really, again, it was a good, entertaining scrap. But bro, Joy should not be in any sort of boxing ring, bro. Like that's my opinion.
No, I mean, we said that after the Zhang second loss, because that was such a hard knockout, and then we also said that after the Chisora loss, because the Chisora loss was quite bad, because Chisora is someone who has a will, but he doesn't have a great gas tank after 3 or 4 rounds, and he has nothing much to offer. And even he managed to drop Joyce, and he also managed to drop Joyce off of a feint, which was quite weird. And you could see now when Joyce fights, even the Cash Ali fight they had as well, it's quite slow, lethargic. This is, I actually rewatched the Hrgovic Joyce first fight in the amateurs in 2013, and the difference in how Joyce looks physically from now and then is insane. I mean, like Joyce looked like an athlete then. He was the quickest puncher. He still had the stiff arms and whatnot, but he could move quite a bit. He was quite athletic, and now you can just see he's a bit washed. He's a bit tired, a bit lethargic, and everything's just gone much slower. And still cannot register the punches. Like he can't get his head out of the way of the punches. And I think now 2 losses back to back, and he's taken 4 losses in the last 2 years. You're 39. Call it a day. You're not going to get back to the top. It's done. Like there's no more big fight out there for you. If anything, people are going to use you as feed, as feed for their prospects. If Joyce wants to carry on, I wouldn't be surprised if Frank Warren uses him to big up Itama and just get a big knockout, because Itama would probably knock out Joyce. And other promoters would use him to as a bit like you're the gatekeeper now. You're the guy that we can use. You basically end up becoming a journeyman towards the end.
Yeah.
You're taking so much punishment, and he takes punishment. Like he's not trying to roll with the punches. He's not trying to block it. He takes it. Like he takes it. He takes it clean, and it's just going to be bad. I mean, I can't even imagine like what his brain, like the CT scans and everything, would look like.
That shit is scrambled.
Like, come on, someone in his camp has to say to him, "No, like, all right, you made your money. You've had a good career. Like we all can slander him, for what we say, but he's had an overall good career, because no boxer, there's not that many boxers that has a decent amateur career the way he had. Getting silver in the Olympics, and I think getting gold in, I think it was the world champ, not in the world championships, but he got a couple medals in the amateurs, and then going pro. Beating 2 world champions in Daniel Dubois and Joseph Parker, not just beating them, stopping them, and getting the WBO interim title. Like, you've done more than a lot of people can ever say. You don't have to go on and prove yourself even more. But he's just someone that, like, the prophecy came true, if I say. Like, I remember we were watching him for quite a while, and I remember me, like, when he first debuted and he kind of was coming up the scene, I was like, he's a problem because of his gas tank and his conditioning, and he does punch quite heavy, but he just takes too many punches. And the writing was on the wall even before Zhang, where it was like all of us, anytime he fought, we were all saying in the group chat, he's gonna get knocked out by someone heavy. Like, someone's gonna knock him out at some point. There's no way that he can continue the way he's going to continue and get to a top level in this format. I mean, remember we had like Anthony Joshua, Joe Joyce, like people talking about that, and I'm saying, look, you might not rate Anthony Joshua, but he's much more than capable enough of beating someone like Joe Joyce and battering him. The stamina's hell, the engine's hell, but he just takes too many punches, and if you're a heavy puncher, you're just going to knock him out. And it's just sad to see, because it's like, I think now just call it a day. He looks so disheveled. I mean, he's growing his hair out. He physically, on his face, you can just see the wear and tear.
Yeah. Even when he speaks, you can see it.
I mean, he's taking. I don't. This is why I don't. This is where we're going to talk about incompetence quite a bit, especially today. This is why I don't get about the incompetence behind commissions, because you can't tell me you're not watching Joe Joyce interviews and seeing him literally think of an answer and take like 30-second gaps, because he's not even thinking. He's just lost track of mind because his brain can't focus. And saying, yeah, no, it's fine. We'll let him get into another fight. We'll let him fight again. He's like, that guy is struggling. Let him. Don't let him fight. Just retire at this point. It's not. Yeah. It's not worth it.
Yeah. Then they need to cut it out, man. It's the money behind it, isn't it? The money behind these commissions. They don't give a fuck, really. They get their sanctioning fees, and that's it. The way boxing is financially structured, it incentivizes bad decisions, because these guys, if you're a big name, they want you to fight for these belts. They want you in these fights. They want to sanction these fights because they know they're gonna get more fees. So yeah, the BBBOC, they know Joyce is cooked, but they know if he fights and they say, oh, we're gonna license this fight, but you're gonna pay us X amount, they're gonna make way more money doing a Joyce fight than doing, I don't know, some random guy down the street. So that's literally what it is to me. It's all financial.
Yeah, and it's sad to see, because is kind of exploitative. It's like, look, I'm a big UFC fan, but there's certain guys in the UFC who've been fighting almost like 5 or 6 years after their sell-by date, and it's literally because they don't have any money. But with Joyce, it's different because I don't know Joyce's financial status, but he's made a lot of money from the game, from the headlines that he's had, the cards he's been on, and what he's done. And it's just exploitative. We don't want to see people get the crap beaten out of them again and again. There's no joy to it. It's just now, now is the perfect time to retire. Just call it a day. You tried, but that's it. Just call it a day.
Yeah.
It's sad. But Hrgovic, on the other hand, it's interesting because he's like the boogeyman that's not the boogeyman anymore. I think he's kind of a false image in a sense, because in a sense, when he was coming up, he was this guy that everyone's kind of afraid of, no one wanted to fight. I think it's more to do with he's had a bit of risk, didn't have that much of a name, so not really people weren't lining up to fight him. The Dubois fight kind of showed you a lot of arrogance, Like he looked like he thought he was going to knock out Dubois in 4 rounds, and he didn't need to train anything beyond that. And when that didn't happen, you could see it on his face that he was just like, what the hell am I going to do? And he does that. He'd done that quite a bit here in the Joyce fight, where he was landing right hands and left hooks, and he was landing these combinations at times. And when it wasn't taking effect, he just would, Joyce would return with the shot. He might get caught, moves out of the way, but then he would just shell up on the ropes. So I think with Hrgovic, it's like, you're kind of a mirror image of Joyce, where you're a bit slow, you punch quite heavy, and you can punch quite hard. Dubois knows that. Dubois got cracked quite a bit. But I wonder, where do you think Hrgovic could go from here?
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said. I feel he's a front runner. So if he's hitting you and it's not taking the effect he wants, he kind of like struggles to carry on with his game plan. That's why I was saying, like, it's like his shots was losing form. He looked tired because he was cracking Joyce. So he's thinking, you should be getting out of it. And this is the same thing that happened in the bar fight, when he's cracking these guys and they're not going anywhere. So it's like he doesn't know what to do. But where I do feel like he's in a good position is the heavyweight division is opening up soon. So he will get to opportunity. He will get another opportunity at the top, I reckon. And he's a good fighter. Ultimately, he's a good fighter. He's got a good chin. Like he got stopped against Joyce against Dubois, in my opinion, more from fatigue than actual damage.
It was the cut. So they looked at the cut and they called it there, because he got cut remember that fight. So
yeah. Sorry, he got cut, but also it was very fatigued. I think Hrgovic got a fantastic chin. I think he can take a lot of shots, and I feel like in this current division, that can take you a long way, especially when it does the belts fracture. So if he works on his arrogance and looking past people and like taking every opponent seriously, I think he's a player. But again, like you said, I think the boogeyman stuff's gone away. Um, at the very, very, very top of the division, I don't see him beating Dubois. I just feel like Dubois just has his number because the guy can take a shot. He's got an absolute crazy engine and it will just keep coming. I think those sort of fighters are hell for Hrgovic. The guys coming up, Moses Atama, I feel like it'll be a problem from Hrgovic from just his pure speed and explosiveness. Um, I think, but I can see him winning like an alphabet belt or something like when they fracture. So yeah, but the boogeyman stuff, I think that's done now.
Yeah, but I think from here, what you do is, if you've got this win, build on it. Now, one fight that could be quite good, they can make if they wanted to. I'm not sure, because it depends on everything. It depends on everything, like the situations and everything. But AJ versus Hrgovic would be a fun fight to make, in my opinion.
Yeah, that would be a very good fight.
Hrgovic Zhang 2, you could run that back.
Yeah.
Like, give Zhang an opportunity to get that get back, but also with Hrgovic, it's like, you've seen what happened to Zhang. You can now try to capitalize on that, and also
Zhang's a bit older as well.
Yeah,
so it's more winnable.
Yeah, you could do Caballero, but I don't think that's fair for Caballero, because obviously he needs to go for a world title at this point, anywhere near that. So, but for Hrgovic, yes, like, it's the rebuild now. It's like, what do you do? You won on 2 to 3 weeks notice. You've done your thing. Now, how do you build on it? What are we going to do this year to get yourself back into that kind of world contention mix. There
Yeah.
are names out there, so let's see what he can get done, especially with how like you say, how the heavyweight division is kind of moving up. So it'll be interesting to see. Let us know what you think about Hrgovic and Joyce and where you think each guys could go. Obviously, if you think who could they beat and where could they do, and what are your thoughts on the fight as well? Let us know in the comments below, and any questions you have as well. And of course, if we're talking about heavyweights, this was a heavy card, and you had David Adeleye fighting Jamie TKV for the British title. The fight itself doesn't really warrant much conversation. It was very poor, sloppy. Jamie fighting in spurts and holding, and it was quite sloppy. And David Adeleye just really relying on that left hook to get him the job done. When a guy gets a big knockout, some people tend to favor that same shot for some reason again and again. It's like you've got to set up. Your power isn't what you think it is, where you can just throw it and it works. You've got to also set it up. So the fight was quite jarring. It's not a rewatchable fight. But there were moments where in the clinch, the referee would call a break, and Jamie did it first. He punched off the break, and then he got told off. But then he did it again where the referee called break. I think he called it twice, tapped Jamie's arm off, like slapped it down. And in the middle of that break, Adeleye throws a left hook, drops Jamie TKV, and that's it. Like from that point, Jamie's lost. He's not really there. He's out on his feet, and the fight gets stopped. So that's quite controversial. I mean, if you call break as a referee, if you call a break, you have to make sure that there's a break in the action, and so you have to separate the two fighters. If you want them to keep fighting, what you say is keep working. You don't tell them anything. You just tell them keep working, and they know to keep working. But if you mention break and you slap someone's arm down, that means you have to get involved now to break them. If they haven't broken, and someone like David Adeleye takes advantage of that and throws the left hook, and look, no one can blame him. It's a fight. He's going to throw a left hook because he's in that mode. You then have to either disqualify Jamie because you've said David because you've said break and he threw the break and he threw off the break, or you have to call a break in the action, take a point off of David Adeleye. But what you don't do is carry on as if it was normal, because it just ruins how the fight went for both guys. What was your thoughts on that whole controversy?
Yeah, I think it's quite shocking, to be fair. Like I said, there's not much to say about the fight. TKV was just barely outboxing Adeleye throughout the entire round. He just had better footwork, better jab. It was a poor fight. Adeleye is very limited. He struggles with movement, clearly. He struggles with foot positioning and where to put his body in terms of landing his shots. But with all that being said, the real meat of the fight is the controversy. I think the referee should be ashamed of himself ultimately. David Adeleye, I don't think he did anything wrong per se. Like you said, it's a fight. So anyone that's getting onto him is what it is. Like we look, for example, the Floyd versus Ortiz situation. Again, it wasn't as egregious because in that one, the referee didn't really put a stop to the fight. They just came together and then you got like it's a fight. You're gonna
Yeah,
take advantage of any situation you have. But here, the referee actually put TKV's arm down. Like he physically moved his arm. Like so, you stopped him from having the ability to defend himself, and he gets cracked. And because of that, he gets stopped. I don't think it's gonna get changed to a no contest. I don't think anything like that's gonna happen. But I do believe they should have an immediate rematch. I think that is one of the is awful, man. I just don't know what was going through that referee's mind. Um, but yeah, that to me that was just crazy. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
yeah. I mean, I don't think age always means experience, and we've got an issue where in refereeing we always go for older referees. Sometimes age can be a hindrance sometimes, and also there needs to be an understanding from referees. If you are going to referee two big heavyweights, you have to make a decision. You're either going to get involved, and if you're going to touch them, then you're going to physically get inside and break them. And if you don't want to get near them, then you're going to shout break. And when they don't, you're going to have to say break, and you're going to keep telling them to break unless if they don't break, then you have to get involved otherwise. You can't do a mix of both and then do what he did. And I think also with age, sometimes people just make mistakes because they're older. Sometimes people make mistakes because they made a mistake in there, and then they're not willing to kind of rectify it, if that makes sense. And he made a mistake because he tapped the arm down, but then he didn't get involved. If you're going to tap the arm down, get involved so they can't throw. But yeah, the way it was handled was quite stupid. British referees across all sports, for some reason, are having a stinker. I mean, you got football, for example. Now you got in boxing. So it's not just a one sport thing. It's something the Brits have in common. We're crap at officiating events. So there's that.
It's so funny because I saw the Adelaye's post fight, and he was talking about apparently that's what happened with him in the Wardley fight. I'm like, bro, Wardley beat you from pillar to post, bro. Like, that is not remotely the same thing. But it's just funny how like he tried to justify what happened, and how fighters try to justify. Listen, if I'm a fighter, I'll be like, you know what, fair enough. I'm in a fight, I just cracked him. But saying stuff like, "Oh, this is what happened to me in the Wardley," like, you're not a victim, bro. He was doing all that Peckham, I'm a South London boy stuff again, and you didn't perform. You didn't perform. Like David Adeleye, like you need to perform, bro. Like I don't know what he needs to do. He needs to go back to the gym, and he needs to I don't know. He needs to sort something out because he's just not performing.
I mean, he's a big puncher, but he's quite late to the game, and so he really hasn't developed his skill set properly. And I think at this point, if you are the way you are, it's going to be very hard to develop your skill set. You can add little things to it, and you can refine certain things. Like, for example, don't just load up on punches expecting it to land, but actually set them up. Get your feet moving in the right position more often rather than being a bit slow and sloppy behind it. But changing and becoming a boxer, or like getting used to using your jab or something, isn't something he's going to do. I think main thing for him is use your assets. You're a big punching heavyweight. Just get to the point where you're setting up these shots and you're getting into positions where when you land, you're going to hurt people, and that's it. You can't change who you really are, and he's limited. He's not going to go quite far in that sense. He's not going to get a world title shot or anything like that, I don't think. I mean, lesser people have, but from what you can see, he's not a world champion level sort of guy. But he's fun to watch in terms of when he lands and cracks, because he always offers that threat, and so you always want to see him in there against any heavyweight, because it will just be fun to watch, and he's just going to work on that. With TKV, very limited. I mean, I'll be, I think he'll be around this British level for quite a while. English British level, that's his thing. I don't think there should be a rematch at immediate. I'm not that concerned, but I think what they should do is they should get Adeleye to fight Okoli or Yakpo, and get Jamie to fight Solomon Dakers, because he got knocked out by Adeleye. You can then rebuild yourself with a fight like that. And Solomon's not that big of a puncher; he's more of a boxer, so that gives you kind of more opportunity to be the puncher in that aspect and build yourself back up a bit. Going into an immediate rematch and then getting knocked out again is not great for Jamie TKV, considering you're not a star. You're trying to build yourself up. Getting 2 knockout losses back to back, and you've already had 1 knockout loss before this, is not really going to help you in the slightest. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. But hey, it's British heavyweight fun. It's always fun. I mean, when these lot scrap it out. So, but this one wasn't fun to watch, so I'm not that concerned about the rematch.
No, I agree with you. It's not a fight that anyone would be clamoring to go see.
No.
But I'm just saying, if I'm his team, that's what I'll be pushing for, because he has, from what I saw, he beats Adeleye in a rematch, and that's a big scalp for him. Do you get what I mean?
I don't think so. I think Adeleye will always have the number. I just think I've watched.
You
TKO.
think, bro? The fight was, bro.
No, I know that. I know that. That's just Adeleye being Adeleye, but I just think Jamie's very sloppy, and I think Adeleye just has that power where he will catch him regardless, and he will put him down and stop him. Jamie's not somebody that could back on to like have a full 12 or 10 rounder plan that's going to work, if that makes sense. Like, it's going to be very sloppy, and he's going to get cracked quite a bit. So
that's fair.
Let's see. But I mean, with Adeleye, his on the undercard on the card, it was announced that Fabio Wardley is taking on Jarrell Miller in the Ipswich Stadium for the vacant interim WBA heavyweight title. It's the big stadium fight that Fabio Wardley has been clamoring for a couple of years. It's an interesting fight. I think obviously Jarrell Miller is someone who somehow managed to rebrand himself after Anthony Joshua's of the whole Anthony Joshua saga with the whole drugs thing. And look, here he is now on these big cards, these big events. And it's an interesting fight because I don't think anyone looks at Fabio Wardley and ever looked at him and kind of went, yeah, you're going to win a world title. You've got that potential that you can. But they know he's dangerous. You know he's quite dangerous, and you know he's better than British level. He's probably around that European level, fringe world contender level.
Yeah.
And this will be the fight to kind of prove whether or not he belongs in the top 10 or not. Because Jarrell Miller, for what we say about him, hell pace to deal with, engine, got a good chin. He's a dog. He'll make it tough. And his style's hard to deal with because it's just so overwhelming at times. And Fabio Wardley, this will be like I said, a proper test because compared to who he's already fought, this is the biggest fight he's got. And this will determine whether or not Fabio Wardley can become a pay-per-view star in the UK, because now you're headlining. This is your fight. This is your event. If you put on a big show, you get another big heavyweight fight. So it's a lot on the line for Fabio because he, in my opinion, if he wins this, he'll be in the aspect of overachieving in the sport, which is great for him. What's your thoughts when they announced this?
Yeah, I think this is the perfect fight. I feel like Jarrell Miller is that fighter that gauges if you're ready to enter world level. We saw it with Dubois, and Jarrell Miller is the type of guy that will test you. He will test your heart. He's very, very durable. He throws a lot of punches. Might not hit you hard, but he's very busy. Even although he's off the gear, he's still very busy. He'll be on top of you. Huh?
Is he?
What is he? What?
Is he off the gear? Are we sure?
Oh,
Are we sure about that?
okay. We don't know for sure if he's off the gear, but gear or not, he's that type of fighter. So, and it'll be a good test for Fabio Wardley how he'll deal with a bigger guy who'll sit on his chest. Like he's gonna deal with a lot of guys like this who are a lot more sophisticated than Miller when he enters world level proper. So this is the perfect test. And like you said, it's his first show. If he does a number and does a job on Jarrell Miller, he becomes a pay-per-view star instantly. Instantly. Because he will have the the two big fights with Frazier behind him, and then he has the Jarrell Miller fight. You're a superstar at this point. So I think it's big for him, and I hope he does well. I actually want him to do well. Like you said, it will mean he's overachieved. It shows that you do not have to have some glamorous amateur background for you to do something in the sport. But do I think how do I don't know. I don't know how the fight will go. Like, if I'm saying my early predictions, I think it'll be a very tough fight for Fabio Wardley because based on how he fights, he likes to have a bit of space to throw his big 1-2s and do what he likes to do, and he's just not going to get that against Jarrell Miller. So it'll be very interesting. Like like I said, if he does a job on Jarrell Miller, then yes, Fabio Wardley is another one people have to look out for.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the fight, and it's quite tough because the pressure, the pace, the volume of Miller will be quite tough to deal with. But Wardley will always have moments there where he's able to land that 1-2 and that right hand on Miller. I think Miller's got a great chin, but he'll definitely get tested by Wardley. Wardley's a big enough puncher for that. And we saw what he did to Fraser Clark's face.
Yeah.
I mean, so he's got enough power to test it. We'll just see now when they fight how it goes. So it's good. Yeah, I'm excited for it. When it happens, hopefully they put a decent undercard as well on it. And then once you got that interim WBA title, you can either force a title shot or you can just use that as your look. This is my world title, my hand, and this is why you should watch me. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens there. And like I said, it's a precipice for Wardley. If he wins, he can push to a bigger summit. So let's see.
Yeah.
On the other side of the world, Tszyu returns after taking 2 back-to-back losses, especially his last one, which was quite a bad loss he took, to stop Joey Spencer in 4 rounds, therefore setting up a summer showdown with Keith Thurman. Watching the fight, you could tell Tszyu was trying to take it all in, but he was a bit nervous as well, as you would be. When you take a battering like he did against Bahram, you mentally have to check yourself quite a bit, especially when you're in your next fight, because you're always worried that it could happen again, regardless of who the opposition is. Joey Spencer, I'm not sure what happened when he was in there. Just didn't look like he wanted to be there. it's quite a I don't want to use the word pathetic, but it was quite a passive performance. He as soon as the shots were landing, he just didn't want to be there. He shelled up, just took the punches, wasn't bothered with answering back. And in the fourth round, that's when Tszyu really opened up because he knew nothing was coming back his way, and the referee stopped it. And Spencer, he didn't look to argue with the ref or anything like that. Just accepted his fate and just went on about his business. It was quite poor from him. From Tim in the fight itself, looked good at times. He did get hit, but the shot selection was decent. He looked back to his normal self. There's still questions I have whether or not the confidence is still there, because Joey Spencer really didn't test him enough to shake that confidence, and shake his ability and test him a bit in terms of his defense as well, the way he took those left hooks from background. But it's a great confidence booster for Tszyu. You could tell towards the end he was very confident, very happy with the win, and maybe that's all you need when you're coming off of a big loss. That a fight like this, a win like this, and that kind of gets you back into that groove that you should be on. But yeah, it was one where Spencer disappointed, and Tszyu just needed to do what he needed to do to get a win back on the record and keep moving forward. What's your thoughts on Tim Tszyu?
Yeah, I think he's just been managed very poorly. His career has literally gone down the toilet from linking up with the PBC, which I think he didn't need to do. It's like he was desperate to become a star in America via the PBC, and they basically, in my opinion, they sunned him. They pulled the switcheroo on him. They ruined his career in America. And then after having he was meant to fight Thurman, you fight a guy that's 6'5", long, pause, takes your belt. Then you go into the next fight with a very, very dangerous contender. A fight, if you're trying to rebuild someone, that is not the fight you take. And then he loses again. So yeah, like I said, he's been managed so poorly. But yeah, like I said, I saw the knockout. Good, looked good. I need to actually watch the fight to see how I think he looks. But like I said, we want to see him with better position to see where he's actually at. Do I think him right now can beat this current version of Thurman? Absolutely. I do not rate the current version of Thurman. I think he's very beatable. He's there to be got. But it's more so how he looks further like down the line with the rest of the division, and I need to see how he looks against Thurman. Again, I don't know how much that's going to tell me because Thurman's not really a 154 pounder. So yeah, we just need to wait and see what goes on. If he struggles or looks bad against Thurman, then we have real issues.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I think there's potential problems in that Thurman fight, because Thurman, for what he is, he's still a big puncher.
yeah,
And that will be the test for Tszyu. If he does take a big punch, how are you going to react to it, and how do you go on fighting in that moment when you do get cracked again? Does the PTSD hit you back, or do you get to work? And he's going to get cracked because that's how his defense is. But I think he's a big punch. I think he'll probably be one of the biggest punchers Thurman's fought. So yeah, I think he'll be the favorite in that fight, and it's good for him. Look, these two fights with Joey Spencer and Keith Thurman are good fights to get the momentum back, make money while you're in Australia. Because Tszyu, I have a feeling that the Thurman fight will do well in Australia because people will want to see that, because Tszyu's a big name and Thurman's a decent name out there as well. And so it'll be good for him. And then have a third fight if you win that fight against Thurman. Have a third fight in the autumn or the winter, and that's a good rebuild. 3 fights, 2 of them back in Australia. Maybe do one in America towards the end of the year, and if you win those 3 fights, you build yourself back up. And the losses then, they matter, but they haven't stopped your career. You've built yourself back. So maybe this is the start of seeing good management from his side, and seeing them build him better back. And that can always happen. A fighter, no matter how we look at them, they can always show you something different. Just depends on how they do it. And so yeah, if the Thurman fight could be even a bigger confidence boost if he wins that, because he beats a former world champion, someone that everyone loved, big puncher, and then from there, go on to fight whoever else is in the light middleweight division, whether it's someone like a Sergey Bohachuk or Virgil Ortiz, because that's a fight they were meant to make. They were making for last year. Obviously, that fell apart because Tszyu's cut made it fall apart. But you know, there's so many fights on the horizon for Tim Tszyu. He just has to get through Thurman and look good while doing it, because you can really sell those fights afterwards if you can look good. But let's see. There's lots to say with him and lots to see with him. So, and speaking of lots to see, Janibek also fought. I mean, there's a packed weekend in terms of there's loads of fights. Janibek fought on the weekend, a homecoming fight, which I think it's quite good. It's quite good, especially you've got fighters like Janibek who aren't the biggest names. It's always good to take them back to their home, because the stadium was fairly filled. Like, there's loads of people there in Astana in Kazakhstan. It was a good card in terms of names. There were loads of names on it. And he put on a performance, and he got a big knockout in front of his home people. And I can't lie, like, he's someone that I look at where his resume doesn't reflect the skills. Partly, you can't really blame him because his name isn't big. You can blame that, but no one really wants to fight him. He's got 2 belts. Eubank said no to it. Shiraz said no to it. Adames and Lara don't seem like they're shuffling their feet to get a unification done anytime soon. So it's like his resume just doesn't reflect how good he really is. I think on skill, he is definitely one of the best. He's probably the best middleweight in the world. Obviously, he just doesn't have the wins to back it, but he's been getting better. Despite the level of opposition, I can see the changes in his craft. He's working more on his inside game. He's trying to be more threatening on all aspects of the sport, in the mid-range, in the long range, and on the inside. And, you know, one problem with fighting this level of opposition all the time, like Mikhailovic and Gaultieri and Ngamsinghe, is that, okay, you might get used, you know, what he does a lot of the times in his fights is he plays with his food. And so because you get a bit complacent with how you're fighting and you don't really feel the urgency to win a fight, and that could translate over as a habit, a bad habit. But another thing you can do is you can work on your craft against these level of opposition, because you can get away with more risk and you can work on things and you can actually improve these things. And I'm seeing that in his game. He's improving these aspects of it. And the knockout was brilliant. It's what he needed. I mean, it was great off the break, countered him, bang with a left hook that stopped him like on his feet. And then he just followed up with another left hook to put him down. And that was a big, big knockout to put him down. And I think, you know, he's got everything. He's got loads of aspects to his game that makes him such a tough player to fight at middleweight. You know, he's got quick hands. He can punch really hard. He's smart with his feet. He's quick with his feet. His hands are quick as well. And he's smart in terms of his ability to fight. He got a chin. He can take a couple punches. And he can sit in there at any aspect of the fight and work well. I just think now you're at a crossroads in your career. You're not getting the big fights you're getting, and you've got to talk to your management and whoever's managing your promoter and all that, and go, look, if we can't get a unification, screw it, dump the belts and go up to 168, because there's more guys at 168 there, and trying to become a 2-division champion will be better for his career than just waiting at 160 for no one coming around. He's got the frame for 168. He's actually, I'd favor him as one of the better fighters at 168 if he goes up. Not the best, but he'll be one of the better fighters there, and there'd be more money there as well for him. I just don't think he should be waiting around for a division that's been very lackluster for the last couple of years, because no one's tried to unify. There's been no contender that stood out. You had Shiraz, and look what happened to him. Like, he just hasn't stood out anymore. So I think, go up to 168 and try your hand there. But what's your thoughts on Janibek as a whole? Do you think that that's something he should do?
Yeah. Like you said, I think he's probably the best. Not probably, he is the best middleweight there. And he's struggling to make the weight now. Like, what, he fainted not too long ago, so there's no action in the division. I think, like you said, Shiraz is going to 168. The action looks to be going to the 168, and if he wants to make money, like, I think he's not been promoted well as well. So I think he should go to 168 and make a run of it there. I think he's so good. Like, Janibek is so good. I don't know what they're teaching the fighters in that region, but it's like in all sports in the Caucasus region, MMA, boxing, like, they're just making demons, bro. Like, I think he's so well schooled. He hits hard, throws the right shots. And I want to see him. I want to see him get the opportunity to become a star, but I just don't. And I think time's just running out for him. Yeah, yeah, that's what I think. I think he's a really good fighter.
He's 32. You're in the peak years of your career. Just move up. There's no point waiting. These guys aren't on.
Yeah.
Dames and Lara are on the same promotion, and they're not even fighting each other. Okay, at least Adames fought Shiraz, but still, no one knows what Lara's trying to do, and
Yeah.
there's really no one else out there. Shiraz doesn't really want to fight Janibek, and Shiraz has moved up to 168 anyway. So it's just better to move up. There's more guys at 168. You've got Diego Pacheco. You've got Steven Nelson, for example. Even though he lost, that's a decent name to fight. I mean, he's not the biggest name, but it's still a decent guy to get out there. You've got Munguia, you've got Sriracha, you've got Canelo, you've got Skull, you've got Shishkin, you've got Saggio, you've got Mbili, you've got so many guys at 168 that, again, they're not big names themselves. They can't really shuffle their feet against you. So let's see how it goes, because he's a talent I wish they don't waste. I hope they don't freeze him out, because he's a unified champion, and we're not seeing anyone really want to take that. I mean, I see why Eubank doesn't want to take that, because if we're being honest, if Janibek fought Eubank, he's stopping him bad.
Yeah.
So interesting to see what it goes. But obviously, in terms of unified champions, next week we've got, I think, one of the best fights of the year. You've got IBF welterweight champion Joran Boutsenis taking on WBA welterweight champion Eimantas Stanionis. I mean, this is a fantastic fight. Both guys violent as hell, great operators. There is a danger for each man in this fight. In my opinion, there's a favorite, but not that big of a favorite. He's in danger in this one. It's one of his best fights. This is Boots' best fight today.
It's his best fight. Yeah, it's his best
and
fight.
Stanionis' best fight as well. This is their best fight, and this is going to be the way they fight. Like, Boots can be a bit passive at times with the way he fights, but Stanionis is violent as hell. He keeps coming forward. He's not going to give Boots a moment to rest and a moment to rest on his laurels as well. And it's going to be so good. I can't wait for this. I mean, this is where Matchroom really delivered. This is a proper good, and PBC for letting Stanionis go to Matchroom and do this fight. This is a proper fight. This is the when they said to Boots, we're gonna we want to bring you over because we want to get you these fights. These are the type of fights we were talking about. These are the fights they need to get him on. I'm really excited because I think, like I said, Stanionis is a very competent, good boxer. He's got a great jab, got a great right hand behind it. He's got a great work rate to his work. He's a very good, solid boxer. He can work his ass off, and he's tough. He's composed. He's really good with his power. And Boots, on the other hand, really athletic, really technical, really gifted with his ability. But in his last couple of fights, has been lacking with the way he's been performing and having lapses of concentration, and sometimes being a bit too complacent with the way he fights, and his power not being the same the way it was before. So it has the makings of such a great fight because Stanionis really tests. If Boots is that potential hype that you're talking about, Stanionis will either bring it out or show you that doesn't exist.
Facts, yeah.
How are you feeling for this one?
Yeah, man, I'm excited for it. Like you said, I echo everything you said. Boots has been quite disappointing lately because with all the talk about the Terence Crawford stuff and then not fighting Ortiz, it's just put a really bad taste in my mouth personally. So this fight getting across the line, very happy. I'm super excited. I might stay up for that one. I probably want to watch that one live because, like you said, I feel like there's gonna be a knockout in that. Personally, I see a knockout happening because the way both fighters fight, they just, like I said, pure violence, man. That's gonna be a really good fight. So I'm really keen to watch that fight. Yeah, man. Let's bring on next week.
Yeah, I mean, it might even be a fight of the year contender. I mean, because like I said, Boots could have his lapse of concentration in there. Stanionis will capitalize on that, and he'll make it a tough fight for him. And Stanionis knows what this is. I'm going to Philly. I'm going to his hometown. Wait, is it Philly? I can't remember actually. But I'm going to his because it's on his promotion. He's the A side here. He's the guy that everyone's talking about. I'm going to his. We're fighting. Is it? Oh no, it's in Atlantic City. Fair enough. I'm going to his side. He's doing everything, so I need to go and take it to him and take this fight from him. But unifications, I always love unifications because it shows that we're getting the best fighting the best. This is an example of it. These are probably, you've got Mario Barrios, you've got Brian Norman Jr., then you've got Boots and you've got Stanionis. And in my opinion, right now, you'd have to say Boots and Stanionis are probably number 1 and number 2. I think the ring belt is also on the line for this, which is good as well, because they are the number 1 and number 2 guys in the division. That's when the ring belt was always on the line. It's going to be fun. It's just these are the type of things we need. Like if the middleweight division could do this, where you had like Janibek versus Adames, that would also be an amazing fight to set. The way Boots handled his career in the last couple of months, turning down the Virgil Ortiz fights, like you say, turning down X, Y, and Z fights that we want to see him in, because you've been saying, look, I want to unify. He had no choice but to bring up a fight like this.
Yeah,
and it's good it's here. We're not getting a guy that's waiting around in his career. I think he's like 28. He's 27. Yeah. You're in the prime years of your career. You're making your money, but now you're talented enough to go after the top guys and really set your legacy apart. And here it is. And the welterweight division hasn't had a good fight since Spence Crawford. So this is the next best fight for them, and it's good because this is a really good fight. And then hopefully, if Boots still wants to fight at welterweight, then take on Brian Norman. He just won, offer that fight, and then get a double unification. Then if Barrios doesn't want to fight, move up to 154 or move up to 154 after this, because loads of fights there. There's obviously rumors that Boots will be involved in a 147 tournament with Haney, Garcia, and Teofimo. I still don't know nothing about that, so let's see how that kind of pans out. But you need the big fight.
With all these promises, man, I'm just getting jaded, bro. Like, for example, Cepeda, Shakur's not happening anymore because apparently Turkey's not giving Shakur the money promised. Like, all these promises, man. So at this point, I just want to see these fights.
Cepeda Shakur was never going to happen. The reason being because Cepeda does not want that. Cepeda does not want that fight. I mean, unless you pay Cepeda a certain amount of money, he's not going to take that fight. He said he couldn't fight in October because he had the birth of his daughter, but he fought in November in Riyadh. That doesn't add up. Like you're okay, if your daughter's born, wouldn't you take a couple months, not literally less than 4 weeks?
Yeah.
So he's never. I've said this before about Cepeda. Many people have said this. You don't get to be the number 1 contender in each organization if you weren't ducking title shots, because by the time you get to number 1 in one of them, they would have offered you the title shot. So if you're number 1 across all of them, you said no multiple times to stay that way.
Yeah, facts.
But here, look, when we get these type of fights like with Boots and Stanionis, just that's what boxing needs. And you don't need. I don't know whether or not Riyadh season is involved in this or not, but these are the type of fights where you don't need the Saudis get involved. You don't need it.
Yeah.
You two can get involved and sort out a fight yourself, and you can see you're gonna make a lot of money from it. And even if you lose, you're still gonna get a lot of money, and you can get another chance to go back up again. So we need more of this. We need more domestic shows like America getting this. UK don't have nothing like this at the moment that rivals that. We generally
don't. I don't know. Like our scene has just come to a malaise, partly because of the reliance on a Saudi bag, and
everyone's going off there.
It's just so we need to spark some life in the UK scene again.
Yeah, but let's see, because like I said, some of the promoters are too over reliant now on the Saudis. And the Saudis, look, they're not giving their money to Shakur. They're not, they're kind of pulling out their investments a bit in certain areas because they're not allowed to spend as much foreign anymore, because obviously they're wasting too much money on certain things.
Yeah,
but this is a good aspect for the sport. It's a great fight, and like I said, it's one of the best fights of the year. And then April's quite packed. I mean, this is one of the best fights, and then obviously towards the end of the month you've got Eubank versus Ben. That's going to be interesting. I know that's going to be big in the UK, especially when you come towards fight week. They're going to ramp up the promotion quite a bit. They already did it quite a bit already. And then the week after that, which is quite a crappy week. I say crappy in the sense of I don't know why they put 3 back-to-back events on one weekend when you could spread it out throughout the whole month. But obviously, you've got on the Friday, you've got the Times Square card with Teofimo, Haney, and Ryan Garcia. Then on the Saturday, you've got Canelo Skull. Then on the Sunday, you've got Inoue versus Cardenas, which is again 3 back-to-back events on the same weekend. Just doesn't help the sport. You should spread it out. But anyway, But this is a great fight. I hope everyone enjoys it because it you know, I'm gonna stay up. It's one of those ones I personally will stay up for because I think it's worth the time. And yeah, it's gonna be great. I hope all of you guys enjoy it. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Like, subscribe, comment, share this video to people you know that are gonna love it, especially boxing fans. And look, keep joining us on this journey. And we're gonna keep rolling out the episodes as the week goes.
Yeah, man.
Peace.
Peace.